everyone, and welcome back to Holiday Horror. This is episode 4. It is the holiday season for 2022, and this is pretty bad quality video, but I am famous for that, and I enjoy some schlock, and I guess schlock comes out of me. Black Christmas from 1974. Now, this movie has been remade several times. It did have a remake in, I believe 2006, and there was a remake a few years ago, I believe 2019. I've seen the remake and I get some enjoyment out of the remake, but the 2019 one I have not yet seen. I wanted to cover the 1974 one. I've seen this in bits and pieces, but I actually did sit down and actually watch it all the way through. And it's considered a classic among the horror community for good reason. And this was a very enjoyable horror film, and it's very well paced. The atmosphere and tension is really there in this movie, and this movie kind of predates the slasher genre. A lot of people will say, me included, that Halloween pretty much, spawned the slasher genre, but Black Christmas came out before Halloween, and Black Christmas is kind of in a way predates the slasher genre because there is a little bit of a body count and people slowly get picked off more and more through this movie. But this is a really solid movie. This movie is surprisingly hilarious in parts. There's a part where the lady who runs the sorority house in this film is clearly an alcoholic, and she hides it pretty well because she goes upstairs to the house and then she goes in the room where there's pretty much this small library of books, and she picks up one of the books and she opens it, and a bunch of the pages are cut out in the shape of a small bottle of bourbon or whiskey, and then she takes a big swig of it. And then there's a part where she's brushing her teeth. First of all, she's doing some weird dance brushing her teeth, and then in the middle of brushing her teeth, she randomly pulls up the top of the toilet seat and then pulls on the string, and then there's another bottle of whiskey in the back of the toilet seat, and then she takes another swig. And when she does that, I'm pretty much all right, I guess she does live by the words of Kesha of, brush my teeth with a bottle of Jack. So there's that. The main character, Jess, is a really good main character of this film, and a lot of it has to do with obviously someone harassing this sorority house, and they get these really strange phone calls. You can imagine what he actually says. And so there's a lot of harassment towards the sorority house, and people slowly get picked off, one by one. One of the girls gets picked off, and it pretty much ends up becoming the cover of the movie because she's pretty much wrapped in plastic, and she basically suffocated with this big plastic bag over her. And her dad even comes to town to try to pick her up to take her home, and the dad is I'm not finding my daughter anywhere. So it becomes a lot of the police get involved in this and trying to find out who did it. And Jess has a boyfriend named Peter, and you find out parts in the movie where she ended up getting pregnant, but she doesn't want to have the baby, and Peter is kind of mad that she doesn't want to have the baby, and he wants both of them to get married. And a lot of the movie has to do with their relationship and just with the surrounding of this killer, and all these girls being harassed. And there's one girl named Barb who's clearly an alcoholic. Everywhere she goes, she just has to have a beer can or some sort of whiskey. There's even one part where she's giving alcohol to this little kid at some holiday party, and she's are you sauced? It's yikes. This was still a really enjoyable movie. I can kind of understand why they would want to remake a movie like this, but at the same time, this movie was so good that it's why would you try to remake it when you are, you have a very small chance at topping the original? And at least the remake in the early 2000s definitely doesn't top the original. I still do enjoy that remake to some extent, but a lot of this movie is just so well paced. It's not even a huge body count. It's only a few select people, but you really get to know a lot of the characters throughout, which is something I really appreciated about this movie. And I can't really make fun of this movie all too much because it's just really good. Not to give away the ending, but the ending is pretty chilling. Like, it takes its good sweet time wrapping up the movie, and it's the tension's definitely there, and it ends on a real high note and definitely very sinister note. I'm gonna highly recommend everyone check out Black Christmas from 1974. This is a very unique film, and I can see why a lot among the horror community really regard this as a classic, and one that's definitely underrated. Like, people talk about it, but not a lot of people have legitimately seen the original Black Christmas, and I would highly suggest everyone go check it out. This is a film that I'm probably going to watch every holiday season now. I think it's definitely a staple.